more advanced beings today. Just so you know, Lalita, I'll try to catch you up. We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the conversation between Maharaj Pariksit and Shukadev Goswami. It was a response to Maharaj Parikit's questions: what is the duty for all persons, in all places, and at all times? And what is the duty especially for one who is about to die? Because Maharaj Pariksit was cursed to die for within 7 days of the conversation. So he very wisely, he put aside all his kingdom and worldly responsibilities. He even gave up eating and drinking and sleeping. And all he wanted to perform tapasya, some type of austerity, before he left this world. So he gathered, and then all the sages, because he was the king of the world, and it was kind of a big deal that the king of the world got cursed to die by an immature Brahmin boy. So all the sages went there to see what he was going to do next. But in the midst of all the sages gathering, Shukadev Goswami came, and he was the most advanced personality on the stage. And so Maharaj Pariksit and all the sages were eager to hear from Shukadev Goswami. So Maharaj Pariksit asked him that question: what's the duty for all persons in all times and all places? So it's a very good subject matter, because we're persons and we have times, places, and circumstances. And if we hear what the duty is, do you know what the duty is for all persons in all times and in all circumstances is? That's one of the duties, actually. Yes, that's one of the 3 duties. It wasn't so specific to Krishna's name, but actually what was specific to Krishna's name, that if you had to pick one duty, especially for one who's about to die, that's the main duty that should be done. Just call upon the name of the Lord. But the instruction for all places, all times, and in all circumstances, for one who's just about to die, that's the one. Chant Krishna's name. But the instruction for all places, all times, and all circumstances is one of 3 things. To hear about the Lord and His glories and things related to the Lord, including His name, His form, His pastimes, His qualities, so on, His teachings. Then to glorify that same Lord, to recite what you've heard, to share what you've heard, to glorify that Lord. And this will enable you to do the most important rule of Krishna consciousness, to remember the Lord. But there's nothing to remember if you have not first heard about the Lord. If you haven't had revelation of the Lord, how can you remember that which hasn't been revealed to you? So if I told you, like, oh, Madhav, do you remember that one time you made $2 billion and things like that? Yes. Since it has never been revealed that he has made $2 billion, how could he remember? So if it's not been revealed, the reality of the Lord, to someone, how can they, oh yes, just remember the Lord? Well, I don't really have very much experience with the Lord. So that's why you need to hear about the Lord. So what you're doing now is fulfilling the duty. So Shukadev Goswami actually gave all kinds of examples why Maharaj Pariksit was quite fortunate, because you could reach perfection in even 48 minutes time, or even less, like Maharaj Katbanga, another Vedic history of a great king in the past. But you have 7 whole days to hear about the Lord, so Shukadev Goswami was ready to give him all kinds of information. So he began the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he began the process of put aside all of your worldly responsibilities, put aside all of your family matters and all these things. None of these things matter. And what ultimately matters is the simple process of trying to do those 3 things: hear about the Lord, glorify the Lord, and remember the Lord. So he talks about how to meditate on the Lord, and he describes what's called like the Virat Rupa, the cosmic form of the Lord. And in that Virat Rupa, he's describing how like the trees are the hairs of the Lord's body standing on it. The rivers are like the veins of the Lord. The sky is, or the air is like the breath of the Lord. And it's teaching us how whatever we associate with in this world is actually part of the Lord's total form. So it's teaching us how to understand that there is just like in your belly, there's trillions of bacteria and cells. They're all, probiotics and the bad bacteria, and they're all like quarreling and having civilization and things like that. And from their end, I doubt they have great realization that we are in the intestinal tract of the great personality Lalita Shri. No, they don't know like that. From them, they were born there. That this is their land. This is their everything. So similarly, we're like this. Yeah, this is my country. And we're in such a tunnel vision. We don't realize we're part of something much greater. So Shukadeva Goswami is giving that meditative experience and understanding to Maharaj Pariksit. And then he's now talking about how the yogi can leave their body and ascend through the higher realms of the Lord and ultimately reach the Lord's abode. He's talking about how to die, actually. And so that's where we stopped. It was mainly about, a lot of you missed yesterday, but it was mainly about raising the life air through the chakra system. And the goal was not to leave the body, especially if your one is very unfortunate so basically, how do I explain? The body has different energy centers, and those on a lower energy center, they operate through the lower, what's called chakras of the body. So the most basic thing everyone does is, pass a stool. Whatever they take in, they pass stool, and it's a very filthy part of the body. Nobody is appreciating so much this part of the body and what comes out of this part of the body. So this is the lowest chakra, the lowest energy center, to get rid of the toxicity. It's also where the body processes and removes toxins at the highest level. So then from there comes the reproductive center and the stimulus to create. Especially more life can come from there. And then from there is the center of the, why am I forgetting the name of the Muladhara chakra, I believe? No, Muladhara is the Manipura chakra. And this is the stomach where you digest food. All kinds of desires come from here, and enjoyment comes from here. And then there's the heart center, and this is the increasing of compassion and fraternity and brotherhood with all other living beings, and mercy. And then the Vishuddha chakra, the ability to express higher truths and things like that. And if you raise the energy centers to these higher centers, you get all of the same benefits of the lower centers. And then there's the Agya chakra. This is where refined intelligence and psychic ability and mental capacities are expressed. And then there's the Sahasrara chakra. And this is actually why we tie a shika here, is that this is where the advanced being can actually direct their consciousness out of their body, and that there's like a divine channel of energy that actually is sustaining the body, but there are many obstacles that are blocking the ability for the soul to travel through that channel of energy. It's called the Sushumna. But anyhow, if the yogi perfects himself, he can direct that energy and direct the soul out through, pierce a hole in the top of the head and join that direct channel that's connecting all the chakras, and that's the pathway back to Godhead, back to the Vaikuntha worlds. So anyhow, the yogi actually knows how to do this and knows how to die and direct their energy how to do this. Yes, tell me.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, you said that the Prabhu was about to die and then he had to he had to chant Lord's name.
Yeah.
So what about the sin that he has created throughout his life journey?
Well, he is a pure devotee, so he doesn't have much to worry about sin. But
for us normal humans, like
yes.
when we are unknowingly we do that.
Yeah, by you just chanting here, they'll do something nice for you. Just hold that question. We'll do one thing, and then you'll see the answer to your problem, your question. Okay. All right. Let's chant our Mangalacharana.
Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pushtityade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Without the mercy of Sri Guru in our life, we have nothing to offer, and that we always want to be following in the order and instructions of Guru, because Guru is connected to a whole lineage of transcendental saints and Gurus coming from Krishna himself. And so I want to offer my obeisances unto all of the parampara, or the lineage of saints and Gurus that have passed down the knowledge, that we can study it here in Syracuse in 2026 via this laptop and phone and TV system here. That's very nice internet. Due to the mercy of the Guru Parampara, that this is available for us. And finally, I want to offer my obeisances unto all of the spiritual brothers and sisters, you all, and anyone who may be listening online, the Vaishnavas, Vanchakalpa, Taribhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanang Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Craig. So, this is our final Bhagavatam class for maybe a 3-week period. We're going to take a little time, do a couple of nice devotional activities, including a retreat with His Grace Mukunda Prabhu. That'll be very nice. He visited here a few years back. So was it 1 year back now? It was only 1 year back. But yeah, it was a very nice experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing his retreat. I had a very fond experience with him. Just a few months ago, I visited his home, and I got to ask him some questions that were, burdening me at the time. And he answered my questions amazingly, and really relieved so much of my, actually at that moment I was feeling certain pangs of distress, actually, due to a pretty intense situation that just happened. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So that's one of the many things we're doing on this trip. We got a bunch of family activities to do, and family duties, and seeing friends and things like this. So, final Bhagavatam class for a few weeks. We were just explaining to Lalita, catching her up to this point of the Bhagavatam. Yesterday, Craig, you may have missed, we were talking about the how to raise through the chakra system and pierce that part in the head to ascend back to Godhead, how the yogi does it. Yeah, we were talking about it, and then more in specific yesterday we talked about how to raise the life air center through the different chakras to get to that goal. So it was a little bit more descriptive. It was very nice, actually. Very, very nice. And I was just explaining to Lolita a little bit about this. But then Lolita was just worried about, well, what happens about sins, all the sins that one committed in one's life. Just by you chanting the holy name of the Lord, all your sins are done, actually. But that being said, now, if you go on and continue sinning, or you don't appreciate the spiritual gift given to you via the holy name of the Lord and this process of bhakti, you will then do something worse than sin. You'll make aparad unto the holy name of the Lord, an aparad unto the Vaishnavas and so on. So it's very important that you don't have to worry about sin, but what you do have to worry about is making sure you're always in the good graces of the Vaishnavas and the Lord in His holy name Himself. All your sins, if you can very easily, just by once chanting the name of Krishna, more sins than you can commit are absolved, actually. It's that powerful. Krishna is that powerful. More sins than you're capable of committing are absolved. But if you then go ahead and you're like, oh, great, that's free. I can do as much sins as I want in this world, and He'll absolve me. No, it's not like that. Actually, He'll punish you even worse like that. But it'll be the Lord's direct punishment, and it won't be the system of karma. The Lord will then give special favor to you, and that you need to be punished worse out of love. Like when a child is bad, really, really bad. A lot of these parents, they're, no, never discipline the child. Just let it do whatever the heck it wants. And no, if you love the child, you'll have to, give some discipline, twist the ear, something. Yes.
What if, obviously, I'm still doing simple activities, but when I chant, I don't chant with the idea that Krishna's going to absolve me from that.
Yeah,
I'm chanting mostly to hopefully purify and stop sinning.
Yeah, well, so that's the purpose of chanting. So there's also something we should know, that when we chant, there is also a specific way to chant, as well. The best way to chant is loudly in kirtan. When you chant loudly in kirtan, this forces you to even have the internal experience, even externally. So that's why the Nam Sankirtan, this is the best process. But then we're not always in the association of devotees and able to chant loudly with everyone. So then we also may still try to chant. So then there is japa. But japa, in order for it to be japa, by definition, that the mind must be on the mantra, and then also the mantra must be in the mind. So you can say, all right, well, I'm chanting the holy name, but what's happening is that everything that we're experiencing is inauspicious. Why is it inauspicious? Because we have the wrong idea of life. The wrong idea, the disease condition, is that life and everything I'm experiencing is for my enjoyment. And so we very selfishly take the position, trying to take the position of God, that I should be the ultimate enjoyer of life. So every living entity this is their mood, actually. But yes, life is for my enjoyment. I hope to enjoy like this today. I wake up, I'll do this for my enjoyment, and I do this for my enjoyment, and so on. So pretty much what's happening is everything that the mind conceives is inauspicious. It's leading one, it's from its ignorant standpoint of having the wrong conception of life, instead of actually understanding the reality that actually you are your natural capacity, and what really will give you the most enjoyment is that you are the servant of Krishna, and that Krishna is everywhere in all living beings, and that you should become everyone's servant. So if that was understood, we would do life completely different. So, but though, because as Craig was saying, we need purification, because we need this purification, what we need to do is chant the holy names. So we chant japa, we chant, and you may not be thinking, all right, well, I know I do sinful activities, but we have to understand, why are we doing sinful activities? Is because still that enjoying spirit is present in the mind, and we haven't won the war yet against the mind, and the mind is, it's completely clouded with ignorance. And so it's directing us against and maybe we have a hope, the spiritual hope is, I don't want to sin anymore. And Arjuna, he posits this question in Bhagavad Gita. What's causing me to sin, even though against my will, and what is it, even though I don't want to sin? It's simply Krishna says it's lust alone, Arjuna. It's lust. But what is the lust coming from? Still that original position of thinking that I can enjoy and I should enjoy. So in order to combat this enjoying spirit, which is actually making us miserable, it's actually causing us not to enjoy, because that's the natural reciprocation of trying to take the position of God and trying to take the position of the selfish enjoyer. We don't enjoy, we get miserable. But because still that ignorance is there, and we think we see something that could interact with our senses in mind and body, and we think, yes, I can enjoy that, it's just over there. And so then we go, and so maybe we commit some sinful activity. So maybe it's in intoxication, maybe it's in sexual deviancy, maybe it's in eating things or being neglectful of other living entities for the sake of some pleasure, like eating meat or something like that. But ultimately, what's happening is that we're just being dictated by the mind. And really, the process of chanting the holy name, the first benefit is Chaito Darpana Marjanam. It'll cleanse the chitta, cleanse the mind. How? We just chant the holy name. But what has to happen is we actually have to take the proper mood. We can't just repeat the syllables and then so a lot of times when we chant japa, right? Many devotees, but I should mention this. If you don't give up the enjoying spirit, chanting japa is an intolerable activity. Or chanting the holy name is intolerable. You just won't be able to do it. So what do devotees do instead? They'll chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, but then all of a sudden the mind takes over, and they're in the background is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But what's really happening is then, I'll enjoy like this later, and I'll do this for my enjoyment later, and this is happening for my enjoyment, and we just kind of put the Maha Mantra in the background and let it play via the lips, and then we're really still in the enjoying spirit, and we're just enjoying the mental sphere. So this is what's happening for most devotees. But
the potency is still there for the holy name, because Krishna is not different than a name.
The potency is still there, but because what's happening is because we're not really approaching the holy name. It's not the pure name. It's what's called nam aparad, actually. It's an offensive chanting. So if you've heard the glories of the holy name, the 10th offense is to, despite hearing the glories of the holy name, to still maintain material attachments. Even after understanding someone has told you the glories of the holy name and so on. But the problem is actually, the good news is most of us haven't really heard the glories of the holy name at a high level. Because if we've heard, we'd actually realize, many of us, we'd realize this world that's being perceived by my mind is all inauspicious. We sing it every morning. Samsara dava nalalita loka. This whole world is afflicted by this samsara. It's like a great forest fire of samsara. So anywhere you go in this world, anything that your mind thinks of in this world to try to enjoy its own thinking, feeling, and willing, and then the senses that it can respond with that, the body and its senses that can respond with that, it's all inauspicious. Every single bit of it is inauspicious and leads to all kinds of misery and unfortunate situations. But if we actually realize what is our salvation, and it's the holy name, we'll just sit there and we'll chant the holy name, and we'll hear the holy name, and we know this is my only hope, actually. This is the only thing I can do with my mind that will be helpful to me in this situation. I have no good opportunity to hear about the Lord right now. My capacity to remember the Lord is very limited. So all I can do is just remember his name. So I'll chant the holy name. So we sit there and we hear the holy name. And if we can actually do this and not go into the realm of the mind and create the offense of being inattentive while chanting, which is an offense, to kind of put the Lord on the back burner. It's still having some, because Craig was right, it's not completely all lost. It's still having some potency. But until we actually make some attempt to stop this flow of inauspiciousness, of reaching out into the material world around us, then we're not really engaging in the chanting of the holy name, at least on a pure level. So the holy name, even Namabas and Namaparad, will absolve you of sins and all these things. But the tendency to sin will stop very, very early once that realization that, oh, I'm not the enjoyer here. Life is not for my enjoyment. I shouldn't... All these thoughts of how I can enjoy, this is the wrong conception of life. And all sins are based on that. Just like, oh, I should reach for enjoyment right here. So, when we chant the holy name, we do have a practice of chanting the holy name. If we situate ourselves in the right mood, that, okay, everything around me, everything that my mind thinks of, everything that I do is inauspicious and it's leading to my degradation. But this is the one thing I can do that will at least stop me from that. I'm just going to call out your name. And then one of the first things that goes is Bhava Mahadevagni Nirvapanam. The whole Mahadevagni, the great forest fire, will be extinguished because you stop sinning. Because you realize all of this is inauspicious. I have to, like Bhaktisiddhanta says, we should beat the mind with shoes. This is what he means. The mind is causing everything inauspicious. It says in Bhagavad Gita, the mind, if the untrained mind is one's worst enemy, but the controlled mind is one's best friend. So if you can just stop it, just stop the mind from reaching out into the world and trying to enjoy and realizing that's not the position. You are a servant of Krishna. Just call his name. You'll stop sinning right there. And then you can put a litmus test, all right? Every time I'm sinning, because the tendencies are strong. We've done it for lifetimes after lifetime after lifetime. And at least in this lifetime, if you're in Craig's body, you did it for 70 years. If you're in Lalita, 30 plus years of just thinking we can enjoy and by habit trying to reach out like this for enjoyment. But if we can just stop and control ourselves and just resituate, no, I'm not the enjoyer. I'm here to try to be a servant of Krishna, and I have to stop this. This thing is causing my life. It's a great forest fire. Bhaktisiddhanta, he quoted, I forget the name of he was an English lyrist, but he was very popular because Britain controlled India for some time, especially during Bhaktisiddhanta's time. But the example is given, maybe you've heard it before, that when a scorpion is surrounded by fire, what it will do is it takes its stinger and it turns it on its own self and it kills itself. So similarly, if we realize that our mind is like a scorpion and it's venomous and it's reaching out into the world, but actually what's really happening is that we're surrounded by fire, we should take our mind and engage it in mantra, and especially the Maha Mantra, the great mantra, and turn it on itself and destroy the mind destroy the ignorant mind in a dignified way, like this. Because we're just being destroyed anyway. But everything we touch in this world is destroying us. It's bringing all inauspiciousness to our life. And the only thing that should be done are things in relation to the Lord and His holy name. So this is all we actually have to do, is just situate ourselves in the servant spirit, and this will stop us from doing all the millions of things that are causing our life to be a great forest fire. And then sins are part of that. The sins are the main thing that cause. So sin, you were talking about sin, now we're talking about sin. So the tendency to sin is simply the tendency to not know that you're not the enjoyer and that you're the servant of Krishna, and in those moments you're forgetting it. You're just forgetting it in those moments, or you wouldn't reach for the sin. So what's the training? to just chant the holy name of the Lord. To realize there's nothing else you should do. There's literally nothing else to do. Nothing. Just stop it, chant the holy name of the Lord, and then your basic bodily maintenance, everything it'll be arranged. But until that time happens, we just create inauspicious bhava, a great forest fire. Bhava Maha Devagni will be all around us. But once we stop it and we chant the name of the Lord and engage in bhakti processes, serve Guru and Vaishnava and the Brahmins and chant our mantras and the holy name and worship Krishna, then everything starts to become very auspicious in our life. Why? Because we stopped sinning. We stopped having this enjoying selfish mentality, and then everything just starts becoming more and more auspicious. So, but this is why we're reaching out. So, when you're chanting, this is the only auspicious thing that we're doing. We're actually finally starting to reverse the flow. But in our chanting though, we have to realize that, and I've been messing with this. I had the realization yesterday. I was telling my wife that I don't think I do any japa. I don't do any japa. Even though I sit for, my lips are blabbering the Maha Mantra all day, but I'm not actually doing any japa. Why? Because my consciousness is not always in that position. That life is not for my enjoyment. All of these things, all of my mind's reaching out in the material world and in the ether, in the astral material world for enjoyment is all inauspicious, especially while I'm chanting. And that the only thing I should focus on is just hearing the holy names. This is the only thing that can save me. And so now this is the fruit of my meditation, actually. Just telling you these realizations that I've had and I received from listening to some lecture yesterday. If you will be purified of your sins, but you keep chanting, but we have to actually do it, and we have to do it more than we're reaching out in the material world trying to enjoy. And we have to be careful, if you do have a chanting practice, that even when you're chanting, you're not just reaching out in your mind to still be the enjoyer. If we don't situate ourselves properly as the servant of Krishna and understand that's the process, we're not trying to dominate Krishna's holy name, like, all right, now I'll take this holy name and I'll get whatever I desire in this world. It's like Harinam Chintamani, and we're not trying to do that, hopefully. But if we actually do take to this process, then Bhava Maha Devagni Nirvapanam and Shreya Karava Chandrika Vitaranam. All auspiciousness will arise, and before that, all of the great miseries of life will subside, because they're only coming due to our inauspicious endeavor of trying to be the enjoyer in this world. But when we stop it, Krishna also stops it. He's like, oh, good. So I hope is that helpful, Craig, to your question?
Yeah. I often get caught up in the feeling of a little hopelessness sometimes when it's like, almost like it's black or white. In other words, when you speak of some of that stuff, it makes it sound like we just gotta stop sinning.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to actually do something. But to me, it's a process.
Yeah, well, it is a process.
Because initially when I first understood about, I watched Janeshwar go off and shave his head and chant rounds and rock and the whole 9 yards, it made me feel like, well, there's no way I can do that.
Yeah, you don't have to do it.
I'm just trying to let you know, but over time, it felt, there is a growth in my...
Yeah, I've seen, since I met you guys, tremendous growth in both of you, since I...
But I'm saying, sometimes hearing and reading some of the things, but other on the positive note, I remember I just read something the other day about Lord Chaitanya when they were going house to house and everything. Someone said, I'm a devotee, just say Hare Krishna. And he said it, and it was your devotee.
Yeah. So it's a process, and we're chanting, and then the more. But we should understand, though, the gravity of the situation. It is kind of hopeless in one sense that we're just everything. If we actually understood how inauspicious our attempts at life are, we can get hopeless. But the more we can sit and chant the holy name with sincerity, this is the process. So I would say don't worry about stopping sinning. Just maybe worry about how to start chanting more.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, that's the
yeah,
understanding
yeah.
I've read in the Prabhupada. You know, don't try to stop all this, take up this.
Yes.
And that will help alleviate.
Exactly. So, whenever you can, when you can associate with devotees, when you can hear about the glories of the Lord, and you can hear hear the Bhagavatam, when you can engage in deity worship, when you can visit the holy places and visit the temple and so on, take those opportunities. But since they're not always there in life, then use your time as much chanting as you can add into your life. Good morning. Good morning. So, I hope you enjoyed your stay.
I did. I love your house.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's nice.
Thank you so much. Are you heading out now?
I'm heading out. Yeah.
Okay, well-
I come here from work. And
Yeah.
just attend the conference.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
to interrupt.
No, it's okay. There's a spring water in that other room. You feel free to fill your water bottle if you can.
I'm just feeling up.
Yeah. So, awesome.
Not done.
No. Okay. So, anyhow, yeah, don't worry. The process is working, but just keep adding to the process, because until we make it complete, we'll still be dealing with this inauspicious situation. And since we naturally, even if you want to be the enjoyer, you can enjoy an inauspicious situation. So just try to remember, I'm the servant of Krishna. Krishna's holy name is my only hope. And let me just sit here and chant and know anything else that's happening in the mind, no, this is inauspicious. This is bad. Back to the holy name. And just here. That's why Prabhupada just here. Just here. Because everything else sucks, just here. Everything else is bad, just here. Because this is the only thing that's going to help you.
I look on his books, the Prabhupada keeps saying, I live on in my books.
Yeah.
In fact, they sent a thing to a lot of the Prabhupada, someone, a devotee of Prabhupada said, it's so unfortunate that, here you are, but you can't, all these people that are devotees or want to be devotees, you can't initiate all of them. He says, if they read my books, they're initiated.
Yeah. So it is like that. There's more too. You'll need, because the problem with if you just rely on the book is that the book won't check you. It will if you read it, but you have to decide to read it. But the living Vaishnava will say, no, you should also do more. And say, that's a little off. Because we have the cheating propensity. If you read Srila Prabhupada's books, he talks about the... Yeah. Yeah.
To grow,
Yeah.
reasonably and not feel hopeless.
Yeah, no one is necessarily looking to cheat, but it's just part of the human experience. We make mistakes, we're an illusion, we have the tendency to cheat.
I'm not intentionally setting
Yeah.
out to.
Yeah, nobody...
Like I'm gonna cheat,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna ask Krishna, well,
Yeah. So, yeah, no one, but is that conditioned tendency is there. We have the tendency to cheat towards our own material desire, and we have the bias of like, all right, I will feel more comfort doing something like this, or more enjoyment will be felt doing like this. So everything that I do will somehow end with that result.
But he
That.
did create us like that,
Yeah.
that propensity, so
Yeah.
he has to give us a way to.
Yeah. And the way to get out of it is the guru. Krishna describes the guru as if we read Prabhupada's books in the Bhagavatam, it says Guru Karnadara. Guru Karnadara is one who navigates one through the ear. So if we listen to Guru, he will, and he might not even know exactly what you're doing, but just by him speaking the absolute truth, it'll check you, and you're like, whoa, I was cheating this way or doing this, and it'll check you. Or he might even know you personally and see you and be guiding you and be like, what the heck is this? What are you doing like this? This is nonsense. We worship the Lord like this. Read, this is what the Shastra say, this is what all our acharyas have done. You do it just like this. And so the guru will check you. So that's why the first limb, like if we read Nectar of Devotion, for instance, the first limb of bhakti, in order to start engage in bhakti, the first limb is what part? Guru Padashraya. So it's, and when we said we have to, if it's in Prabhupada's books. If we read Prabhupada's books, we're initiated into this bhakti process, and it'll tell us we must find a bona fide spiritual master. It's the first thing. So then from the bona fide, then the second limb of devotion is taking initiation from the spiritual master. So, and then the third, yes, taking instructions from the spiritual master and asking and rendering him service. And then the fourth, it's pariprashna, asking all your questions, putting everything you can before the spiritual master. So it's like, yeah, you know, you're right, but if you read the books, then that next conclusion will become too. So, and it'll help because we have the problem is we have the cheating propensity to try to be the enjoyer. And the only one who can check us from that is the one who is acting on the level of pure servant. And it's, you know, because we can try to just check it ourselves, you know. But over time, the onslaught of material nature, relentless onslaught if you read Prabhupada's books, right? It will eventually overcome us and overwhelm us again until we can get resituated. So anyway, we're doing a ton of question and answer today, which is nice. This is good. Do you want to? Should we read one verse of Bhagavatam? Do you have no more clarification though? Anything else?
No, that's fine. Yeah, let's hear from my spiritual leader.
Yes, I like it. So it's very good. He's all of our spiritual master. So, Atho anantasya mukhanalena danda yamanang saniriksha vishwam niryati siddheshvara yushta dishnyang yadvai paradhyang taruparameshyam. Atho, thereupon, anantasya, of Ananta, the resting incarnation of Godhead. Mukha analena, by the fire emanating from his mouth. Danda hyamanam, burning to ashes. Saha, he. Niriksha, by seeing this. Vishwam, the universe. Niryati, goes out. Siddheshvara yushta dishnyam, airplanes used by the great purified souls. Yat, the place. Dvai parardhyam, 15,480,000,000,000 years, solar years. Yes, that large number of solar years. Tat, that. U, the exalted. Parameshyam, Satyaloka, where Brahma resides. Translation: at the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be 15,480,000,000,000 years. It is indicated here in purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is indicated herein that the residents of Maharloka, where the purified living entities or demigods possess a duration of life calculated to be 4.3 billion solar years, have airships by which they reach Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe. In other words, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives us many clues about other planets far, far away from us, which modern planes and spacecraft cannot reach, even by imaginary speeds. The statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are accepted by great acharyas like Sridhar Swami, Ramanujacharya, and Vallabhacharya. I was just hearing a lecture on Ramanujacharya yesterday, and wow, what an amazing Vaishnava. If you just heard some of the pastimes of Ramanujacharya, he's amazing. He started the Sri Sampradaya. So, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically accepts Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Vedic authority, and as such no sane man can ignore the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam when it is spoken by the self-realized soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who follows in the footsteps of his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of all Vedic literatures. In the creation of the Lord, there are many wonderful things we can see with our own eyes every day and night, but we are unable to reach them equipped by modern materialistic science. We should not therefore depend on the fragmentary authority of materialistic science for knowing things beyond the range of scientific purview. For a common man, both modern science and Vedic wisdom are simply to be accepted because none of the statements either of modern science or of Vedic literature can be verified by him. The alternative for a common man is to believe either of them or both of them. So, the Vedic way of understanding, however, is more authentic because it has been accepted by the acharyas, who are not only faithful and learned men, but are also liberated souls without any of the flaws of conditioned souls. The modern scientists, however, are conditioned souls liable to so many errors and mistakes. Therefore, the safe side is to accept the authentic version of Vedic literatures, like Srimad Bhagavatam, which is accepted unanimously by the great acharyas. So, a little bit here. Prabhupada is explaining the difference between Vedic wisdom and modern science. The common man, we accept modern science all the time. You know, when we have the internet, no one has to tell us exactly how the internet, but you just hit the button and it transmits everything and you benefit and you get this whole thing, whole experience. So there's so many things modern science is doing, but there's many things like, you know, what just happened now, this Tulsi Gabbard, the last thing she did before she left, her position was exposed this Dr. Fauci and how pretty much him and his cronies, they were somehow with the COVID thing, they knew, he proves they knew that this was going on and this research was happening and it was dangerous and that it could spread all over the place. And that's exactly what happened. And that they kind of are responsible for it in many ways.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the, apparently,
That's what she said.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
apparently they've got, it'll be a thing. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily matter. But if that's true, let's just, for the sake of argument, it's true. It proves that the modern scientists, they have, because they are, you know, they what they proved apparently was it was gain of function research. Because they were financially getting incentives from doing these things and working for different things. I don't exactly understand it all. They cheated and made errors and mistakes and actually created a big problem. So you can't always trust the scientists. That's the point of it. Because the scientists, because they're humans, they're not transcendental personalities beyond the conditioning of the material world. They will lead you astray, and if you only trust science, you may be in a situation where you're going to create more problems than is good for you. You know, we see this a lot of times now. You know, people, you know, are getting more and more, you know, infatuated with technology and. They want to make technology a part of their body, and they want to do everything. And the scientists might tell them, yes, it's good. But at the end of the day, they're getting a big paycheck that's ensuring that they're telling you that, yes, it's very good. But actually, what we'll probably find many years later, that our interactions with phones, our interactions with certain technologies are causing more harm than good, and we'll be in a worse position. So you can't, but the common man, you know, Prabhupada is saying that we should also accept the Vedic literature. More than science, actually, because the Vedic literature is presented by personalities who are beyond these defects. And the good thing is, you can test the Vedic literature. Prabhupada says in his Ishopanishad that the wise person, he will not waste all his time testing. But if you're skeptical and you don't exactly know, I don't know if I trust, like for the Western people. I don't know. I never heard anything about these Vedas. Why should I trust this? So we may be interested in testing and testing and testing. But once you see that this person's an authority, you start to trust them more. Like if you were talking to somebody, and let's just say that, let's say someone who knew a lot about money markets. And they're, oh, you should invest in this, or you should invest in that, and you should invest in this. And you're like, I don't know, I'm skeptical of you. But then if you saw how things turned out, and he's like, oh, I would have made $1 million if I would have listened to him. But I would have made like 10 million if I listened to him here. You start to realize, oh, I think I trust him now. So similarly, with the Vedas, you can test. The Vedas may tell you something, and you're like, I don't know about that. But then just see the result of your life by following or not following it. And then you'll see, oh, I should give that more credence. So, the Vedic literature, the wise people, they simply just accept it. Really? Because they know, they trust it, its authority. But for the skeptical person who doesn't, know much about it, they might have to test the Vedic literature. So in that way, we should test, if that's the necessary process for us. Like we were just talking about the spiritual master, Like, some of us, we may, I don't know. For a long time, I was like, I don't know about this type, surrendering to another person, taking shelter. I don't like the feeling of this. But we can test our life. How far are we getting on our own strength? And for me, I realized not very far. And you read Prabhupada over and over again. But then, you heard, I've told this many times, where Tamal Krishna, right? He was a big personality when you were back in the day. So Tamal Krishna, you've heard the story. He asked Prabhupada, if we have your books and the books have everything, why do we need you? And then Prabhupada twisted his ear and pulled it. Because the books can't do this. Because that's important. And in the Bhagavatam, Krishna confirms the same, that Guru Karnadara. He said, and the human body is described like this: Plavam Sukalpam Guru Karnadara. It is a well-designed machine or boat to be navigated by the Guru. That's what the human body is described as by Krishna in the 11th canto. So anyway, this is a little bit off the topic, but back to the Vedic wisdom. This is a modern person who might not trust a Western person might not trust the Vedas. Fine, let them test it out. Or they probably won't listen to it, and let them get the results that they're going to get in life, and it'll suck, for them. But the wise person who wants a good result, they will trust the Vedas, and they will follow them. So anyway, we may have to be done here. We only did one. We did so small, but. Like this. What's that? We will do kirtan. And that's the very thing. But actually the one good thing we got to talk about was to try not to let the mind dictate one's life. Try not to because we should know everything we think, because as of right now we haven't realized this yet. But if we realize everything we think is inauspicious, is wrong, it's leading us the wrong way, we will stop putting so much emphasis on our thoughts, our feelings, and our desires. And what we will put emphasis on instead is that which is connected to the Lord, especially just His holy name, hearing His message, and the processes of bhakti. And so if we do like that, we will get a good result. And if we don't do like that, then test it. And you'll keep finding a great forest fire around you, and you can't get out of these miserable situations. So, take this process, and the best thing we can do now is, as Craig said, we'll chant the holy name of the Lord. Any last question or comment?
Well, in modern science, the thing that always amazed me was when Prabhupada said to show how imperfect our senses are. Put your hand in front of your face, you can't even see past it. But when we develop something and we use our senses and mind to do it, it's always flawed. So anything that we create, and then things that are created based on that are continuing to be more flawed and more flawed. But science is, I love how they claim a billion years ago this is what man was like, or wasn't, or something.
Sure.
And then somebody will find a skull and wait, remember what we said last time?
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, it's the whole senses. If we just rely on our senses, we're always going to get a covered conclusion. It'll never give us the absolute truth. So yeah, modern science is extremely limited. It's very useful. I mean, Parth is working in the modern scientific field. You're also working in the scientific field, yes? So it's useful for practical life. I mean, without the scientists, how are we going to light the room? How are we going to do so many things? You know, the functioning of plumbing and all these things. These are all sciences, and they're very useful and helpful. Yes.
I've never seen any scientists who are spiritually inclined. They don't believe in spirituality, and they're completely opposite.
Yeah. Well, in modern science, they've been trained under the doctrines of atheism, really. But all ancient scientists were all spiritual. Like Pythagoras and all these, whose theorems they're all using, they were all spiritual, actually. Even Einstein, at the end of his life, became spiritual. The father of modern physics, what's his name? Do you remember? Anyway, but he was quoted as saying, the first gulp of natural sciences will make you an atheist. But as you keep drinking and get to the bottom, you'll find God waiting for you there. Because really, when one progresses to the limits of science and understanding, you'll come to realize that we actually know nothing, and that this universe is so spectacular, and everything, the cosmology and everything is so spectacular, that the only inference that we can make, that there must be some designer, there must be some controller of this. So, but it usually takes a level of humility and actually great intelligence, which we can say not all scientists have. Why? Because they get distracted with other things, maybe with the money someone is offering. So then they focus on cheating people via science. Like half the medical industry is a big cheating business in the name of science. And there's so many things out there in the name of science that are cheating industries, or they get caught up with greed and wealth and all these things. But the pure scientists, like, Einstein was a very sincere scientist. Nikola Tesla was a very sincere scientist. They discover such amazing things, and they usually come up with quite profound spiritual realizations too, which their science leads them to understand. So yeah, you are in the scientific field and you have your colleagues, but you should all understand you're very immature scientists. You're not very accomplished scientists. But a very accomplished scientist, they almost always accept God at the end. Or they're really not that accomplished.
I like that simple example that you said, that when the teacher, you know what an orrery is? It's a model of the solar system.
Yes.
And then he handed on this desk and he said, this just appears here.
Mm.
Do you believe that? And everybody was, no, somebody had to make that. Because, okay, if you feel that it took intelligence to make that, what to say of the real solar system?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's pretty simple logic.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Argue that.
It's very simple, but at the same time, because, like for instance, the theory of evolution, another fraud theory, and they've gotten proven in fraud actually in their presentation. Charles Darwin, what?
It was proven.
Yeah, they're revoking now many textbooks. Some of the top textbooks in the world are revoking. You probably have seen it. There's a photo of different animal, what are they, embryos, and they all look very similar, and it leads one to the conclusion of evolution, the evolution theory. But actually, that was a forgery, and it was proven to be a forgery. And actually, if you look at the embryos of all the different species, they're quite different. And you could just test this yourself. But the original drawings that they used and have been in the textbooks and still are in many textbooks, it was an original, it was a forgery, actually.
I read somewhere where Darwin actually believed
In God?
in God.
He may have. Well, I know for a fact that Darwin and his colleague, I read a book on it, that they were sexual libertines, and their main one of the greatest anxieties they had in their life was they felt the oppression of the Catholic Church at the time, of making it so you can only have sex in marriage and all these societal norms and things. So these were their cheating propensities. So they were very interested in creating, proving some theory that would just let the Catholic Church leave them alone from the enjoyment they wanted to receive out of the world. So, yeah. So anyhow, many things are limited, especially theories. They're theories. They have to stay theories for a reason, because they're not proven law. But especially, evolution theory pretty much got accepted as a law, but now it's being, by sincere scientists, it's being proven over and over again that, and just simply by something like Craig just said, well, if we're all coming from monkeys and this is the common ancestor, how come they didn't evolve at all, but we're so vastly different?
Well, the other question you could ask is, okay, so where's the missing link?
Yeah, and that's...
If you have apes and you have humans, where's this? Did evolution just all of a sudden stop?
Yeah, and so that's... and if it preserved the apes, why didn't it preserve some of the, missing links, so to say? So there's so many flaws actually in it. But
We're still evolving as humans.
yeah,
Still-
where's the next
Just like we
tier?
have technology and stuff, we're evolving.
Yeah. So where's the next tier of human beings, or it's all practically the same? Because the Vedas doesn't describe like that. But the Vedas does actually describe evolution of the soul. But the soul will take on a body that is suitable to its evolution. So that's why we get a human body, and that's why you can get a demigod body, and so on. That's the real evolution. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he posited this.
De-evolution in terms of the material world.
Yeah.
Particularly humans.
Yeah.
It just gets worse and worse.
Yeah. But, and also you can have de-evolution of the soul, where you can, if the soul has a low consciousness, only in the lower chakras, then they have to go take a lion body, or they have
But
to
there's
go...
options there,
Yeah.
and in terms of materially,
Yeah.
there's no options. It goes what people do is, that's it.
Yeah, but it will eventually go back up. Cyclically, it will. But you have to wait till the decline now. So anyhow, all these things are can be understood. So this is a really good subject matter. The Vedas versus material science, and you with material science you can prove it. Like for instance, cow dung is seen as purifying and a holy thing. And now we can look, even our modern farmers use the best fertilizer everyone's accepting is cow dung. It's the top one. All the Amish know. Everyone knows. All the top farmers know. But even, now even modern architects are mixing cow dung with different forms of concrete because they actually know that it actually has antiseptic properties and it keeps insects and other things away. And modern science has proved what the Vedas has always said, that every other dung is septic, means it creates negative bacteria. But cow dung is the only stool on the planet that is antiseptic. But the Vedas knew this thousands of years ago. My brother, he really had a hard time, with what I was doing. He was once in about us going to India. It's like in India they have poop festivals. Poop festivals? What are you talking about? But he showed me that there was like a cow dung festival. And I was telling him, explaining, no, cow dung, it's really good stuff,
Well, they build whole houses.
Yeah, I mean, it has so many functions. It's so good. Even, our bathroom last night had some smell in it. We light cow dung incense, and it purifies bad smells. It's like an amazing, cow dung is like an amazing substance. But, the Vedas know this and accept this, but the Western modern science is like, no, this is nonsense. It's poop. It's bad, But actually, if you really study the science, which they've proven now, it's antiseptic. It's like a miracle.
Actually, during COVID, people were drinking cow urine, and they were saying it was preventing and helping them stay away from COVID. And the news was making fun of it, and everyone was making fun. But no, it's true.
Yeah.
And when we were in India.
Take cow dung and put it on a wound or something to help heal.
Yeah.
When I was in India for COVID, they were spraying your hands before you went in the temple with cow urine to purify, instead of what is it? What do we use here? Hand sanitizer?
Hand sanitizer.
But that's terrible because it kills all the bacteria, good and bad. The cow urine is just purifying. But anyway, these are just things that people can't.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you're smart, you would have just accepted the Vedas and you wouldn't have had to test it out. But if you're not as intelligent, I wouldn't say intelligent, because you do want to make sure you're not getting duped by whatever source you're following. You want to make sure it's an authentic source. But once you realize that how the Vedas, they're over and over again, are correct on all of their assessments, then you just, okay, I should accept the Vedas. But this is a true authority, you know. Like the business guy is like, oh, you should invest here. I don't know, I don't trust you, my friend. But then you just see every prediction he says is coming true. You're like, all right, maybe I should trust him, you know. But like that. So the Vedas are like that, and they're a divine source. So anyway, all of this is should be understood. We should maybe just to go to this. The place of Satyaloka, there's no bereavement, there's no sorrow, no old age, no death, and there's no pain of any kind. And it's still in the material world, actually. And therefore there are no anxieties. Save that sometimes due to consciousness there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. So that's the one thing in Satyaloka, they feel bad for their brothers in this universe who are just suffering just so badly due to their ignorance of and not taking to the process of devotional service. Meaning still trying to be the enjoyers and not realizing, no, I'm the devotional servant of the Lord. And so if we do this, then we will sit and we'll chant, we'll do with the right consciousness. But we have to check ourselves a lot of times because we're not situated properly, even in our devotional service. I'm doing this, I'm cooking, but in the heart, the meditating, I'd like to enjoy like this later. Or, if I'm chanting, Hare Krishna, it's like, I gotta arrange this how I want to, Hare Krishna, I really gotta do it. Then, like that. So we have to situate ourselves, no, I'm the servant. And then, actual devotional service, we can pass the aparad stage of seva and the aparad stage of chanting the name, and we can get into namabhas and maybe one day shuddhanam. So this is what we have to make some mental adjustments of how we're acting inappropriately to this devotional process. But even if we are acting inappropriately, which I know I am, and maybe some of us also are here, then we're still on the process. The process of devotional service, Prabhupada is saying, and it's gradual and it's working, and we just keep going, and those adjustments will come when the Lord allows it for us. And if we're sincere, the Vedas say this is immortal. All you have to do is be sincere, and Krishna will allow you always to progress. So thank you guys. Hare Krishna. Let's chant the holy names of the Lord. Is Parth, where did he go?
He's downstairs.
What's he doing?
I don't know if someone downstairs.
What?
I don't know if someone downstairs.
Oh. Maybe he had to get a chatter.
That was like 10 minutes ago.
Maybe he had something important.